Okay, so we're here with Chad Wadsworth, who's running for Acton-Agua Dulce Unified School District School Board. And thank you for meeting with us, Chad. So I have some questions for you, and we'll just start right off. Why are you running for school board at this particular time?
I just feel that we need some transparency within the school board. I feel that for too long people have been afraid to ask simple questions of the board. I feel like that they don't have access to our superintendent or our school board for that matter. A lot of people in the community, a lot of parents that I talk to from time to time, they often complain and are afraid to approach the district office and or the school board out of fear that the kids might be retaliated against if they ask the wrong question. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like I can maybe be a buffer between the community and the superintendent and the district to help maybe get some ideas that are out in the public into the district and maybe hopefully make a little bit of a change to the better.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the things you'd like to implement or change that maybe relating to what's happening now? Or?
Well, I mean, it's hard in the COVID times that we're in. I think that there was a lot of poor planning with the current situation with the distance learning that we're in. Mm-hmm. Personally, I feel that we should have, or the district should have been planning the day after school let out, anticipating that we weren't going to go back to school. If you followed the news or read the newspaper or articles on the internet, pretty much all signs pointed to that. And when the second closure happened, it was kind of like inevitable that we weren't going to go back to school. And I just feel that nothing really happened until a month out from when school was supposed to start. It just didn't seem like there was any planning. I feel like the district didn't try to seek out solutions, and I really felt like it was down to the wire of getting kids their class schedules and setting up computer internet and everything else. And to me, that's unacceptable. The kids are looking to their school to start and to have a positive place to go, and I think a lot of kids felt like, well, what are we going to do? There was just so many unanswered questions, and parents equally had just as many unanswered mm-hmm. questions. You know, with our district being a small district and funding being lower than larger districts around us, I think we need to look at some financial changes. I think we need to tighten the belt within our district and figure out where we can save some money now that we have a little bit lower attendance, and figure out how to think outside of the box to come up with new, fresh ideas instead of just doing the same thing that we've always done and just continuing on down a path of self-destruction. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't have the golden answers, but I have a clear thought and a clear mind of ways to problem solve and how to shift things around and you know, fresh ideas. And I think that more than anything, I think we need fresh ideas within the school board.
And that brings me to some of your qualifications or background that you can bring to the board.
Well, my background is in management, transportation management specifically. I work in the entertainment industry. I manage the transportation departments in 3 different TV shows for Disney Studios. I have 30 employees that work for me directly every day, and you know, my job is to problem solve. My job is to budget a show. We have about a $3 million budget for each show for the season, and it's my job to stay under budget and to come in on time with what we need to do. So what I can offer is a different insight to the transportation world, you know, so maybe within our transportation department at Acton-Agua Dulce Unified, we can tighten some things up there or make things better. Once I get in and I see what's going on and talk to people and figure out where I can help. Mm-hmm. I'm a straightforward guy. I don't sugarcoat much, and the people that know me know that if I have something to say, I'm going to tell you. You may not like it, and you may like it, but I think being forthcoming and open to the public is important. And I think right now there are too many people on the school board that are not approachable. And I think that when you email or you call or you try to talk to somebody on the school board, and for the district even that matter, it takes days before you get a response, if you get a response at all. And to me, that is unacceptable.
Okay. Given the current situation with our enrollment being what it is, it's lower than it should be at this point in time. Usually at the beginning of the school year, we're at higher numbers than we're seeing. Do you feel that this is being addressed by the board, or do you think that our district has a potential to be solvent again if this is addressed soon enough? Or?
I think that if the district is willing to make financial changes, that yes, it can be solvent.
Okay.
I personally feel that the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, by the time you take their wages and their benefits and their bonuses, make way too much money for this little district. If you compare them to Rosemont or California City or even Tehachapi, their base pay is considerably more. So I think that needs to be addressed. I think that we need to look within the district office and see what jobs maybe we can combine, maybe asking somebody to kind of do double duty to help facilitate to get us through these tough times. Unfortunately, Acton is not necessarily the most cost-effective place for young families to move to. So that, I think, is part of our issue, is that a lot of people can't afford to live here. So the numbers are what they are because of that. But I think we can fix it. We just need to get the right people in there to start digging through the mess and get through it and figure it out.
Okay. What do you see are the most important board responsibilities as a board member?
To me, the most important thing is having the trust of the public and being able to communicate with the public and letting the parents and the students of that district know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Keeping secrets and not being forthcoming and not getting information out to the public, to me, makes me feel like there's something going on behind the scenes that shouldn't be happening. We've had many years prior to this administration of stealing and lying and cheating, and with that in mind, it makes you wonder what's really going on now, because you can't get straight answers from the board president, you can't get straight answers from the superintendent, and to me that is a big issue. So getting public confidence within the school board is extremely important. Do you think it's important, or how important do you think it is working with local agencies as being part of the school board? The reason I ask is, for example, if the town council comes to the school board and says, hey, you know, we know there's going to be some power shutoffs in the future, you're a governing school board, can you write a letter to the board of supervisors, or can you write a letter to SCE or to the PUC and state, you know, your concerns with the schools and things like that? Or do you feel like that's not an area for the school board? I mean, do you feel like it's important to work with local agencies? Totally, I do.
Okay.
I think it's important to let them know the impact that it's going to have on the school. If the power gets shut off for a day or even 6 hours, and it happens to be in the middle of school, once we get back into session, it's an issue. It disrupts the children's learning environment, and it's not productive for anybody involved. So if there's any way to maybe push off certain maintenances to different times, or if we have a power outage and they can, or if we have a high power usage where there's maybe we have a hot day and everybody's running their ACs on high, maybe we shut off a different part of the grid rather than affecting our 3 schools. Yeah, I think talking to agencies and being transparent and letting everybody know what we need, when we need it, and how we need it, I think in general it's good for everyone involved.
Okay. What are your thoughts on some of the sports and the arts being cut for this year? Do you think it's COVID related, or do you think it might be budget related? Since we're not really sure, and it's
Well, I feel a lot of it's budget related.
okay.
When it comes down to it, I feel like they think they can cut the sports and the arts, and they can save some money. To me, arts, sports, shop type classes are essential to a kid in high school for sure, and then even in junior high. These kids nowadays are so active and athletic. The athletic ability of a lot of these students is just off the chart. So yes, I think that we need to have athletics at all cost. I get in the COVID time with the stipulations that the states put out there and the rules, it's making it difficult. But as I understand, there's been workarounds and people have figured out how to get the teams together so that they can play and they can practice. And I think that's important. I think it's important for the kids to get out and learn team building exercises. I think it's important for kids to have that experience. It just teaches them life skills. It teaches them how to be part of something bigger than themselves. And that is huge in my personal belief for kids.
I've noticed a little bit on social media and just from what parents are saying. Do you agree that maybe there's not the best follow through with this board? For example, a few years ago, I was looking back through old.
I have to take this.
Okay, so I'll ask that question again. Do you agree with what some community members are saying and parents are saying about the follow-through not being the best with this board? For instance, they've talked about welding trucks before at past board meetings, and I'm talking like a couple years ago. And I was looking back through old board meetings, and a past president, a past board member had mentioned the welding trucks and working with the charter schools that we sponsor and having them work with us using some of their resources. And when it was brought up again, there wasn't any follow through. And now we have a new board, and in the past year or two, there's been new board members. It just hasn't been addressed. So how do you feel? I mean, I'm sure that you feel that follow through is important as a board member. So when you hear stuff like that, do you think that it should be looked at again and readdressed, and if it was brought up or agendized?
Most definitely. You talk about welding trucks. Last year I sent Larry King an email, and it was inside the email was a program that a particular company, Miller Welders, was offering equipment to schools that were willing to set up a program, a shop type program, small type stuff. And all of that equipment could have been obtained very easily. And when I talked to Larry about it, it fell on deaf ears, as has a lot of stuff that I've talked to Larry about. So yeah, follow through to me is essential, and that's kind of the reason why I'm even entertaining this. It's for the last year I really started to pay attention to what was going on, more so than any other time, and the lack of concern for the students, in my opinion, is unacceptable. For instance, the constant turnover of principals at all of the schools has been a big concern of mine. The high school principal that was let go, that whole thing was over egos when Dan Andreas was let go. And the world I come from, you have to take everybody's idea and make it work, figure out what road is the best one to go down. I don't always have the right answers. Larry King is not always going to have the right answers. But together, if you have an open mind, you can start to find the right answers and find the right roads to go down to make it a better scenario and a better organization. I have also concerns about our testing scores. I mean, our reading scores are not the best. Our math scores are definitely not the best. But do we offer any kind of program for improving reading skills? The answer is no, they don't. And when you bring it up, it gets brushed off and like, oh, well, we're doing something, but at the end of the day, you never see anything materialize from what they talk about. So all of that is a concern of mine, and I think that somebody needs to be able to stand up and articulate what the public and what the parents and the students are concerned about, and take that to the board, take that to the district, and figure out a way to make it work. Everybody on the board can't be a yes person. Somebody has to, a couple people really need to stand up and say enough's enough. We need to work through X, Y, and Z and figure out solutions to the problems we have, because if we don't, this district is not going to be around much longer, and that's very sad and unfortunate for the families in this community. It's sad and unfortunate for the taxpayers in this community that have paid for all these new beautiful schools. And all of that is what's brought me to this point of running for the school board.
And I was going to ask you to give a statement or one last comment, but I think what you just said is good. But do you want to add to that?
You know, I just, I've put my statement basically out on the internet. It's on Facebook, on multiple community websites. I've been in the community pretty much my whole life. I moved here when I was 14 years old. I met my wife when I was 14 years old, and I've been married to her ever since. You know, we went to high school together, we grew up in this community. I've seen a lot of changes, and I've also seen a lot of stuff that hasn't changed. It's pretty much still the same town it was in 1994 when I moved here, and I think that's why people live here, is because they like that small town feel. So we need to start acting like a small town feel. We need to start acting like a small town and listen to one another and help each other out and come up with some solutions. We are not Antelope Valley School District. We are not Santa Clarita. We are Acton-Agua Dulce, and we need to start thinking that way. We can still have our sports programs, we can still do our arts, we can maybe even throw in some shop classes to teach some kids some trades. You know, even if it doesn't go into super in-depth, there are people out there that would be willing to come in and teach 1 or 2 days a week. Maybe it's an after-school activity that happens. But we need to start opening up the kids' eyes to other opportunities. There's so many things out there that kids could do, yet the only thing we really preach is, well, once you're out of high school, you got to go to college. But we never open the doors to what might be out there. And I will say, after 7 years of being an assistant scoutmaster for the Boy Scout troop, the one thing that is great about the Boy Scouts is it always opens up doors for the kids to see new things. Every merit badge that they do opens the door to a possible career. And that, I think, is essential to kids becoming successful in life.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for running, and I know it's a volunteer position, and thank you for everything you do in the community.
Thank you, appreciate it.